MBA in India or outside India, Indian MBA or Global MBA. There are hundreds of questions around this topic. What's the fee structure? What's the ROI? What are the programs available for me? Is the work experience required or not required? There are a lot of questions I hear from different social media platforms. So in this video, I'm going to answer all your questions. So hi everyone, my name is Rohit Jha, and in this particular video I'm going to answer all the questions related to MBA in India or outside India. So if you are at that stage where you have to choose a program between an Indian program or a global MBA program, then this is the video for you. To watch this video till the end. So before I start, please do subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon on your screen, because that's more important, because whenever we'll upload any new video on variety of career opportunities, global MBA, MIM programs, interview skills, as well as your resume skills, so you will be notified. So before I start, let me just quickly tell you what I have done in this particular video. So in this video, in the first section, I'm going to talk about 4 very important questions or very important aspects which you should consider before planning your MBA program. Then the second part of this video will consist of the process and the types of programs, both in India as well as outside India. Then third and the most important part which we'll consider is the fee structure as well as the return on investment of Indian as well as the global programs. And the last section, which is extremely important, is the benefits and the disadvantages, or I would say the pros and cons of studying an MBA program from India or outside India. So this is the whole structure of the video. So let's get started with the first section of this video. So let's start with the first section of this video. So the 4 questions which I'm going to address in this and which are very relevant for your decision making for the MBA program would be: the number 1 is the intent of your MBA program. Now, why MBA? This is a very common question, and I've made a video on that as well. So you can just check the description. I'll put the video in that description. Now, when I say why MBA, which means if you are planning an MBA and you want to settle down in any particular country or any particular city across the world, then it's completely fine. Or at least you want to work there for maybe, let's say, after your MBA for 5 to 7 years, and then you might want to come back to India after getting that international experience. Then it's completely fine for you to take the global MBA program or the global MBA route. Otherwise, if you do not have that intent and you just want to finish your MBA degree and want to come back and find a job in your own country, then I would not advise you to even go for a global MBA program. Then an Indian MBA program would be best for you. Just study here. There are a lot of good schools in India as well. Just study and just focus on the Indian market as well. So the first point is very important for the global MBA aspirants. Now the number 2 which you should consider is a work permit or the visa requirements. Because when you go outside of your own country, this is the most important thing, or I would say the most important priority for you, because based on this, a lot of employers are going to decide whether they are going to offer you a job or not. So do check the visa requirements or the work permit rules or the PR rules also if you are planning a long-term future in that particular country, because it differs from country to country. For example, in US, if you are into under STEM program, or there are a lot of STEM MBAs as well, so then you get a 3-year work permit post MBA. In Canada it's the same, but in Hong Kong or Singapore it's different. In European regions it's also different. In UK they've recently extended it to almost 2 years, the post MBA program. So there are different rules, different permits. You should definitely take care of this first before planning to go for an MBA program. So this is the second point. Now third one is a little bit different, but it depends on the kind of industry or I would say the domain which you are targeting. So if you have some specific target in mind, let's say you want to go for an MBA in finance for some specific city, then do check your background first. For a global MBA program, you really need to have a good pre-MBA experience to actually target some specific domain in any country or in any school. For example, you're targeting finance oriented schools. Maybe you're targeting New York or Columbia School or London Business School, then definitely you should have a pre-MBA experience in that particular category. Otherwise, it would be difficult for you. Even if you go in the top schools, then post-MBA job search would be a little bit of challenge for you. So do take care of this part if you are planning a global MBA program. The last one is the most asked question, I would say. What's the value of a global MBA degree if I come back to my own country? So if you talk about the value, definitely, let's say you are from top 20 or 30 or maybe top 50 global school, definitely that brand carries a lot of value and you will have that edge over other candidates. But if you talk about the job search or the job market, then it would be as difficult as any other candidate. For example, you graduate from any top 10 or Ivy League school and immediately you want to come back and find a job in your own country, then you might not get that desired job which you are looking for immediately after graduating from maybe Wharton or Harvard. So that's the very, I would say, the difficult part of when planning an MBA degree. So just be ready with your intent, what exactly you are looking for post MBA, because that is going to decide your journey, this pre-MBA selection, school selection, as well as deciding whether I should stay in India or I should go abroad. And then we'll see the other aspects. So you're combining all those factors with these 4 questions, you can take a call on your MBA program. So now these are the 4 questions. Now let's start with the first or the second part of this video. Let's talk about the process and the type of programs offered. Now let's talk about the Indian programs. It's fairly simple. You have a couple of exams. You have to give CAT, XAT and 2-3 more exams, and then all the schools will take that score. And then there is a process of written assessment test, personal interview and group discussion, and then definitely there is a final selection. And then definitely you have a lot of scores you will get for your 10th, 12th and bachelor marks as well. So this they could just combine everything and then they decide the final candidates. So this is the criteria for all the top schools in India, so such as IIMs, XLRI, FMS, etc. And the program duration is of 2 years. And in most of the programs, I would say the majority of the programs, students are fresh graduates as well as a little experience of maybe in between 0 to 2 years at the max. So almost 40 to 45% of the class consists of freshers. The rest of them, they have work experience, as I mentioned, in between 0 to 2 years. So this is a type of MBA program which is available in India just after your bachelor's. Now another MBA program which is very popular in India is a 1-year MBA program, which is for executives, and that's also a full-time MBA program that is only being offered by IIMs at this stage. And that program needs a minimum 4 years of experience, and I made a separate video on that particular program as well. I'll put the link in the description. You can check the details of that program. And that program requires GMAT and then your application essays and then your achievements and then interview process. That is very much like a global MBA program, but that's for experienced executives, and the average experience would definitely ranges from 6 to 10 years or even more than that in those particular programs offered by IIMs. So that's the only program offered by IIMs. Apart from that, there are a lot of online and distance learning programs and other executive MBA programs which are not full-time but in a part-time mode. So there's a lot of programs available in Indian market. Now if you talk about the global market or the global MBA programs, so there the process selection, it varies from region to region. So let's talk about US programs. If you talk about US programs, they are very similar in terms of duration. They're almost 2 years of MBA program in US. The basic minimum experience required for an MBA program is 2 years, but the average batch size is around 4 years. So that's the factor you should always take care. And then of course a GMAT score, is valid GMAT score you need, and then there is a application process involved, which includes your MBA application essays, your letter of recommendations, your professional resume, and then your personal interview process. After that, they take the whole application in a complete way and holistic approach they follow, and then they will decide. So there is no weightages disclosed, but yes, there are fairly fair weightages to everything, and there are a lot of articles on internet which are available, but nothing from any of the school they officially disclose. Just like in Indian school, they disclose that 40% of weightage goes to this, 20% goes to this, but these schools, they do not disclose. So you might see a lot of cases in global MBA programs where even a low GMAT score of maybe 600 or 640, 620 can help you to get into a good school, because you might have a substantial work experience, a solid profile, a lot of achievements, and a lot of other factors which they look for in an MBA graduate. So that's very important for global MBA programs. The approach or the process is completely different for both Indian MBA programs. So this is about the US programs. Now if you talk about the APAC region, Asia Pacific, as well as the European region, the process remains the same, again the GMAT and the application process, but the duration of the MBA, it generally changes. So the duration of the MBA is shorter in European and APAC regions. It's around 1 year, and somewhere it's around 16 months, including the exchange programs as well. So this is the basic process of getting into an MBA program. Now the basic difference between these two programs is Indian MBA programs is for freshers as well as for people with little experience, but with the global MBA programs you need a minimum experience of 2 years, but an average experience is 4 to 5 years in the US region, and even 6 to 8 years in APAC as well as in EU region. So these two MBA programs are completely different. Now there is another program which is MIM, Masters in Management. That program is actually comparable to an Indian MBA program. So I made a separate video between difference between MBA and an MIM programs. You can check that as well. So MIM programs actually have the same requirements that's just like an Indian MBA program. That's for freshers, that's for people with little experience, and then again GMAT plus the application process. So that program is comparable to an Indian MBA program. So I told you about all the programs and all the processes, durations, and the regions. So this is what you should know before you are planning an MBA program, and then you can always target your school depending on your interest areas, and definitely there are other factors as well, the fee structure, scholarships, and there are a lot of other factors that you can do it. So this is about the process and the programs for these two, for MBA in India as well as outside India. Now the next is very important for all the students to understand is the return on investment, and we talk a lot about return on investment. Now when I say return on investment, let's talk about the Indian schools. So on an average in India, if you go to any top business school, it will cost you around 15 to 18 lakhs. But the return on investment from a top school in India would be very high if you compare IIMs or any other top school, FMS, etc., because the average salary is also ranges from 15 to 18 lakhs, or even it's more than that. So in couple of years, you will definitely, if you do well in life, it's the ROI will be very high. So that's a good part of the return on investment if you talk about the Indian programs. But there is a disclaimer here. When we talk about ROI, so in the Indian programs, this is only for the top MBA programs. But if you see the tier 2, tier 3, or even if you go tier 4, the fee structure of those programs, they are no less than any top MBA program. If an IIM charges, let's say 18 lakhs, so the tier 2, tier 3 or tier 4 schools, they also charge in the range of 12 to 16 lakhs. But the difference is you are not going to get an ROI, a good ROI, if you are graduating from a tier 3 or 4, definitely not, because there are MBA salaries which can go as low as 15,000 or 20,000, even 10,000 in some cases, because the quality of education is extremely poor in India in case of tier 3 and tier 4 schools. In tier 2 you will still have a fair bit of ROI, I would say, because the fee structure would be again around 15 lakhs, but the average salaries that it ranges from 8 to 10 lakhs. So that's still advisable to get into a tier 2 school, but again you have to be very cautious in choosing a business school in India or outside India. So this is a very important factor. Just don't go for a MBA anywhere, because post MBA then you're going to have a lot of stress, and the markets are again getting tougher these days, and in next 2 years again it's really very, very difficult. Salaries are definitely going to go down in the next 2 years. So this is about the Indian return on investment. On the other hand, if you talk about the global MBA programs, of course the fee structures are sky high. If you talk about the US market, you have to stay there for 2 years. So on an average, a US MBA will cost you almost 80 lakhs in Indian currencies, more than 100,000. And then you have living expenses for almost like 21 months, plus you have to have a buffer for at least 3 to 4 months. Because unlike India, you're not going to get a job just right after your college. It might take a few months. So then you'd have to have that buffer as well. So almost for a top US MBA program without the scholarship, it will cost you a bomb, almost a 1 crore rupee if you want to get into an Ivy League, or more than that, without a scholarship. But when it comes to ROI, then again, if you are planning to stay there and gonna work there in that particular country, for example in US or in any other country you want to stay, then still it's advisable, because the average salary if from a US business school would be under around 100,000, and even it's more than that in some cases, again depending on your profile as well, for experienced candidates depending on industry as well. But on an average you get around more than 100k. So if you work there for a couple of years, then definitely the ROI will be exceptionally well from any top school across US, or this is common for APAC as well as in the EU region. In fact, in the EU regions as well as I would say APAC region, the fee structures are almost 20% less as compared to a US school, and even the duration is also less as compared to a US school. So again, as I told you, there are a lot of factors you have to take care before choosing a school or a region: the economic factors, the visa factors, work permit, the markets which are going on, and your desired industry as well. So just take care of everything. So on an average, if you talk about the APAC salaries, they'll be around 90,000 US dollars in a top school in Hong Kong as well as in Singapore, and similarly in case of the European regions. But there the return of investment again is very high if you go to a top business school. So that's the reason I'm saying ROI is very subjective. I would say it's very debatable as well. So if there are two things you should keep in mind whenever you're planning an MBA program. Always either take a program which is a top program across the globe, maybe according to the FT rankings, or if you're choosing a particular region, then at least go in the top 5 or top 7 programs of that particular region. For example, if you choose Canada, and if you choose a school in Canada which is very highly ranked in Canada, for example maybe top 5 schools, but that's not very highly ranked in US or across the globe, so that's completely fine, because your objective is to stay in Canada and you want to make a career in Canada, then that will be completely fine to actually take that opportunity. So this is how you decide a school or any location. So this is about the ROI and the fee structures as well for both the programs. Now the last section of this video, this will consist of very quick. I'll tell you about the benefits and the disadvantages of going for an Indian MBA program or a global MBA program. So let's talk about the Indian MBA program first. So of course the straightforward benefits are the fee structure is less, loans are easily available, you don't really have to mortgage a lot because the amount is less, and a placement guarantee of course. But again, if you are in a top tier 1 school or maybe tier 2 school, then only you'll get a good job. The disadvantages are definitely, if you are a tier 3-4, then definitely ROI is very poor, bad quality of education I would say, so don't choose such programs. And of course the diversity will be less as compared to the global MBA programs in the Indian MBA programs, because most of the batches in IIMs or any other top school, you'll have almost like 70% of them are engineers. So the diversity in terms of obviously from one nation as well as from very similar backgrounds. So that's I would not say a problem, but yeah, if you're comparing that with a global school, then it is obviously in global schools it's better. So that's one thing. Another disadvantage I would say, or I would not say, I mean, we can take it anyways, because in Indian business school even the placement is guaranteed, but to get a desired job you really don't have that experience or exposure pre-MBA. So it gets difficult for students to actually know where exactly they want to go post-MBA, because that's very important in a global MBA program. So this factor, some of them obviously make a good choice, but still this is one of the things which I believe is a problem, where choosing the desired job at times it gets difficult in the Indian MBA programs. Now if you talk about the global MBA program benefits and the disadvantages, so benefits of course a very good or high quality of education, again in the top 50 or maybe less than 100 across the globe, these schools I'm talking about. So good quality of education, a lot of networking opportunities, because networking is a very important part of the global MBA process. Going to conferences, attending seminars, this gives a lot of exposure to the student, a lot of outbound activities. case study approach, going to teamwork, going for social causes, going for an exchange program, going for field trips, and going for live projects outside your city. So there are a variety of opportunities apart from the academics that they offer. That's still a problem in the Indian MBA programs. I would say they're very much academic in nature. But these global MBA programs, they're less focused on academic, more on the practical learning aspects. So that's the biggest advantage of choosing a global MBA program. Another advantage is the overall experience. Different cultures, different background, more experienced people, your overall quality of learning gets enhanced. So that's another advantage of doing a global MBA program. But couple of disadvantages as well. As I already mentioned, the cost is definitely a big disadvantage, because if you do not have any scholarship, or without zero scholarship, getting a US MBA, it's going to be very expensive for you, especially if you are a fresher, or I would say maybe just a couple of years of experience. For example, you have 3 years of experience, so the post MBA job salary will also be not really high to cover up for your ROI in the couple of years. So that's a trade-off you have to make. But again, if you are very certain for a global MBA program, then go for it. So this is one of the disadvantage, I would say. And again, another disadvantage is finding the job. Now, finding the job has 2 aspects. One is finding the job, another is finding the desired job. Now, finding a job could be difficult because there is no structure like a campus placement or a day one placement, just like in the Indian schools. You have to go out, sell yourself, sell your resume through various portals. Companies do come for presentations that you have to network with them and see where your profile fits the best. So that becomes a little bit challenging for most of the students, especially for international students I'm talking about. But the good part is, when I said that job search, the desired job, so chances of getting a desired job or a career which you want to do are very high if you pursue a global MBA program. Now, what is the reason? The reason is because you have a pre-MBA experience, so you know what to do in life. And this MBA is going to give you a lot of knowledge, a lot of cushion, and a lot of understanding to explore your interest. So whether you want to continue in that industry or you want to switch your industry, you will be very clear post your MBA. So if you get a job, chances are very high you will get a desired job in your industry. So these are the advantages. So this is all for this particular video, and so whatever we have discussed, feel free in case of any guidance. If you require, we give free career guidance to all the students and professionals. Just just check our website or social media handle, or just drop your question here in the video in the comments. So thank you so much. Do like, share and comment definitely, and in the meantime, do take care, stay safe and healthy. Take care and bye bye.